Friends, delegates, and fellow Americans, I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
Donald Trump last night in Cleveland officially accepting the nomination of the Republican Party as its candidate for president. The Donald speech last night, well received by panelists and you calling in during our special coverage, but even a CNN poll showed viewers who watched that particular network are now more likely to vote for Trump. Take a look at the numbers in the CNN post-nomination poll. Look at 56% more likely, only 10% less likely, and 32% said there was not much of an effect. So is this the vaunted post-convention bounce now that the campaign is underway? A reminder, you can call and offer your thoughts at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. And here to offer his thoughts via Skype from Las Vegas, former Libertarian vice presidential candidate, political commentator, and talk show host Allyn Root. Wayne, also the author of a new book to be released next month entitled Angry White Male: How the Donald Trump Phenomenon is Changing America and What We Can All Do to Save the Middle Class. Wayne, we always appreciate your time, and it seems that Donald Trump gives a speech that is prophetic. He talked about terrorism last night, and suddenly news of some sort of terror attack in Munich, Germany.
Yeah, listen, the Donald Trump effect is the truth. It's pretty simple. It was kind of amazing when 20 people or more, JD, tell you the same thing independent of each other. You know it's the truth. And I had 20 plus people email me, text me, or call me this morning to say I was jumping up and down. I was so happy about Trump's speech. I loved it. I felt so good. There's a new snap in my heels this morning. I feel like I'm born again. We got a great man that's going to be president. And then I turn on the news. All 20 people said this. And I saw the experts saying it was a dark speech. It was depressing. It was apocalyptic. Apocalyptic.
And you were apoplectic when you heard people say it was apocalyptic. But
and all 20 people were like, "What are they talking about? It wasn't dark. It was uplifting. It was optimistic."
Right. You have to lay out. We were talking about this last night. You have to lay out the problem first, and then the road back. In fact, why don't we listen to more of Mr. Trump's speech, where he sets it out, where he talks about the problem and then exudes the confidence that a commander-in-chief should have. Let's watch and listen.
We must abandon the failed policy of nation building and regime change that Hillary Clinton pushed in Iraq, in Libya, in Egypt, and in Syria. Instead, we must work with all of our allies who share our goal of destroying ISIS and stamping out Islamic terrorism, and doing it now, doing it quickly. We're going to win. We're going to win fast.
Now, it's interesting because, again, some of the punditocracy was saying, well, gee, you haven't laid out the plan, and we may win, but it's not going to be fast. What say you, Wayne?
Well, first of all, you see I've got a great big smile on my face, JD. I'm smiling because it's just so wonderful to hear a leader say the word Islamic and terrorism in the same sentence. It's been 8 years of denial under Obama. We're like in Egypt, a river named Nile. Obama and Hillary and Bernie Sanders can't say the word, or John Kerry, our Secretary of State, or Hillary as Secretary of State, can't say the word Islamic and terror in the same sentence. And you know that every single attack on Western civilization, how many of them have there been? I've lost track. But in the last 8 years, there have been so many. And every tragedy is the result of Islamic terrorism. So maybe there's not a detailed plan yet. But, you know, what was that Chinese proverb? A trip of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Just saying the words of your enemy, naming him for the first time, is a step in the right direction.
And curiously, someone else who shared that criticism of the left couldn't say a few other words the other night at the convention. Ted Cruz could not say, I endorse Donald Trump. Donald Trump earlier today offered this assessment of Senator Cruz.
Honestly, he may have ruined his political career. I feel so badly. I feel so badly. And, you know, he'll come and endorse over the next little while. He'll come and endorse because he has no choice. But I don't want his endorsement. What difference does it make? I don't want his endorsement. I have such great I don't want his endorsement. Just, Ted, stay home, relax, enjoy yourself.
Now, Wayne, you and I have been on the ballot before. We know that politics is the act of addition. You want to grow the vote. But do you agree with Trump's approach there with Cruz saying, hey, take a powder, stay home, forget about it?
Listen, that's Donald. Come on, he has fun. I've been through this for a year now. That was funny. It's entertaining. I can't wait for the debates with Hillary. I can't wait for 8 years of President Donald Trump. It'll be a new funny line every day, a new wild line every day. That's Donald. I think the media ought to be looking at Ted, talking about addition, not subtraction. Ted just subtracted every Trump voter, which happens to be 13 million, the most in the history of Republican presidential primaries. What was Ted Cruz thinking? All I wanted, JD, was 3 simple words. An entire speech could have never mentioned Trump. It could have always been for Ted. And then at the very end, I endorse Donald. And the crowd would have gone wild. And Ted's a hero. And me, Allyn Root, the guy who's worked so hard for Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump is my 24-hour, 7-day-a-week occupation. Under my name, they should put Donald Trump supporter. That's my name now. That's my middle name. I would have done that for Ted 8 years from now. I would have fought that hard for Ted. I will never support him now. What he did was so wrong. And you're right. I've been through it. I was on the ballot. I was the Libertarian vice presidential nominee in 2008. I became a media star. I became a regular on Fox News. JD, everyone thought I'd be the presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party in 2012. And I walked away for the good of the country. I put my ego aside. I made the country and my kids' future more important than seeing my name at the top of a ballot. Ted Cruz had that choice on Wednesday night. Put the country ahead of your ego and your little boo-boos because Donald Trump said, nah, your wife's not as pretty as my wife. If that bothers you, what do you say when Putin says, my bombs are bigger than yours and my wife is prettier than your wife? Will you start World War III, Ted? How childish can you possibly be? JD, he gave an entire speech about unity and forgiveness as a Christian, and then he wouldn't unify and he wouldn't forgive. As far as I'm concerned, Donald's exactly right. I wrote about it. Ted Cruz's career is in tatters.
Well, let's turn to something else that Donald Trump talked about last night, and it struck a responsive chord when he said it is time to move past the current administration valuing non-Americans more than American citizens. And almost on cue, today at the White House, there's the president of Mexico. But it's interesting because the Mexican president, Enrique Pena Nieto, said during the joint press conference with Mr. Obama that he has a great deal of respect for both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. He said in Spanish, quote, the government of Mexico will observe the electoral process with great interest, but it will not get involved in the process. Yeah, wait a minute. Forgive me, but in California, where they have so loosened up election and voting laws, a lot of non-citizens are going to be voting in California, aren't they?
Yeah, and you'll see again a big beaming smile on Allyn Root's face. I've waited so many years to hear a presidential candidate say America first, America second, America third, America forever. And I heard it last night. I've said this for years, and I've never heard anyone else parrot it. The job of an American president, of the U.S. president, is not to worry about foreigners. It's only to worry about United States citizens. It's his job to worry about American Muslims and protect them, and American, Mexican, and Hispanic residents and protect them. But it's not to worry about Mexicans from Mexico or Muslims from Syria. We have no need, no responsibility for an American president to worry about foreigners who come into the country. We have a right to block them. We have a right to set new limits on them. We have a right to deport them and send them home. I only care about American citizens. And once you're a Mexican and you become an American citizen, once you're a Muslim, you become an American citizen, then I care very much about you. Then the president should protect you, defend you, and watch out for you. But Donald Trump doesn't have to worry about Syrians or Mexicans or Central Americans. He has to worry about Americans first. Thank you, Donald.
And, of course, very interesting this afternoon because President Obama and the Mexican president, again, were touting the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which obviously Donald Trump opposes, and it appears growing momentum is with Mr. Trump. And, of course, you've been there all along, Wayne Allyn Root. We appreciate your time and your input. And we want to remind everybody that next month, your new book, Angry White Male, comes out. Of course, you see Wayne on the cover there. He's smiling like he is today. So, thanks to you, Wayne. Have a great weekend. And we're looking for your phone calls. Call me at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629 as we continue to get your input and review the day's headlines here on Newsmax Prime.